Our next speaker is Sonali Rastogi, who is, oh, there you go, who is quite a rock star. And when she's not a rock star, she's also, oh, actually, while she's a rock star, she's also partner in morphogenesis. Now, the reason why morphogenesis, at least to my mind, is an important practice is that it established itself when India liberalized. And when India did liberalize, the idea of image kind of has captured our imagination. And to my mind, morphogenesis work is important because it not only works with the image of the building, but also looks at things that are important to this country and the society, things like resource frugalness, things like climate responsiveness, and sustainability. So I'm happy to have you on stage. I'm just going to line up your presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, if you give Sonali a round of applause, please. Thank you.
Yeah. Good evening. So when I was invited to speak here today, I wrote to Vaklu to ask the topic. He very candidly wrote back saying that architects have a way of speaking about whatever they want to anyway, but you can try sticking to the topic. So what I've done is I've just changed the topic a little bit to my moments in architecture, from moments in architecture, and I'm not referring to photography because I take the stand that my memory is my camera. It captures the moments most seminal in my life. My photographs are alive in my memory and not fossilized, as Dayanita Singh said. So the topic that you see underneath, leadership, gender, morphogenesis. So this, I want to refer to what Martin said, and he mentioned a lack of discourse. Studying at the Architectural Association mid-90s, I noticed a serious lack of discourse about Indian architecture. It was that day somewhere a vision grew in my mind that Morphogenesis, a firm that I founded in '96, would be the vehicle to discuss this topic. And Indian architecture, I would have to play my role in it to make it part of a global discourse. So the other topic, the second one, gender. Making an observation on gender politics is rapidly becoming a trending topic of discussion and one that is hugely annoying for me. So these are the two subjects I will talk about, and I will use the works of morphogenesis as a vehicle to talk about that today. So bear with me on this slide because it looks like vanity, and it is a little bit of vanity. It also serves the purpose of counting each moment that morphogenesis has wormed its way into global discourse. I feel I'm doing my part. It's also my screensaver that every morning is a reminder of my vision to create many moments of Indian architecture globally. As Dayanita also said, her work, photography, needs to be disseminated. And I can't agree with that more. And for me, it becomes even more poignant to be present at various platforms around the world because I can't carry the buildings. I am going to try now somehow, but I just can't carry them around. So therefore, slides like this, which seem a bit of vanity, are important to me. So this slide represents the travel of morphogenesis. This particular slide is about an article I read, I think it was a month ago or something, in the Zine, which says only 3 of the 100 companies are, women lead only 3 of the world's 100 biggest architectural firms. Only 3 of the 100 companies are headed by a woman. And I'll just cut it short. 6 more firms are run by senior teams consisting of both women and a man. These are Gensler, Perkins Eastman, Wilmot Associates, UN Studio, and Morphogenesis. What they missed out entirely is this, which I have written to them about. Morphogenesis has 5 departments: BD and communications, operations, accounts, administration, human resources. 4 out of 5 are headed by women. This itself, when I read the article, this itself was a moment for me. So this is something that I really proudly want to talk about because, as I said, it's a trending subject. So every third day I get a call from a newspaper or a magazine saying, how does it feel to be a successful woman architect? Why are women architects not successful? What is the role of women in architecture? Why are they not seen, heard? So I don't know how to answer these ridiculous questions because I don't know where they are not seen or heard. I mean, this is it. This is what I live with every day since 1999. Female to male ratio 1:1, and men always complain that they are tending to get lower because quite often we've hit 70% women. So it's a gender neutral workplace and it's a gender neutral architecture. The reason I have a need to state that because I have chosen 4 or 5, I think it's 5 projects to share with you today that are typically considered in the male domain of architecture. They have megalomania behind them, they have large iconicism behind them, they have sort of revamping like 4 states behind them. So these are ideas that generally get associated with male architecture, or so-called male architecture, assuming there is some such thing and there's some such thing like woman architecture. So this is one of Morphogenesis' current projects, global competition, to build the world's largest office building. And I think it is the 13th or 14th largest building altogether in the world. So what excites me about this is of the many women working on it, most of the time the client is addressing a Swati Ben from Morphogenesis. So next time when somebody asks me, why are women not represented? How does it feel to be a woman in architecture? I'm going to direct them to Swati Ben, who's building Surat Diamond Bourse, the world's largest office building, 65 million square feet. So this is the project. And I'm not going to go through, like Martin said, he didn't discuss the plans. I'm really not looking to discuss these today because everybody is an architect here or designer and they read Arc Daily, so they know all about this. But I'm really talking to discuss works that are considered in the male domain, but which are actually being done in a gender neutral way with equal amount of women and men. So this is a building which is not only the world's largest building, it has 23 kilometers of naturally ventilated corridors, sustainable project, 100% rainwater harvesting, vertical forests as green lungs, and so on and so forth. You know, all the buildings that go for trademark good visuals. That is it, Surat Diamond Bourse for you, in construction now. The next project, okay, so this is seriously soul work, and this creates a lot of good moments in my soul. When we went down, and we went from Allahabad to Varanasi, looking at 62 cremation ghats down the Ganges as part of the Namami Gange stretch that we're designing. Yeah, some of the images, I mean, I can't even talk about it. I mean, it's too disturbing. It disturbed my soul. But what we planned is so soul satisfying that to me, that sense of satisfaction is my moment in architecture. And even if 1/10 of it gets built, it is Morphogenesis' contribution to our society. So these are some of the ideas. It's part of the National Mission for Clean Ganga, and it's the world's largest cleanup plan for our waterways. These are some of the urban design proposals for some of the ghats. And these are some of those images. So not me, but other photographers, some from my studio, some otherwise from the research. This is what we saw, and this is what we had to deal with most of the time. But again, in these moments, there have been other moments which are extremely soul-satisfying. We worked with Engineers India Limited, and we worked with an NGO to create a funeral pyre way of burning bodies, which reduced 70% of the pollution going into the rivers from the burning of bodies. So to work in funeral pyres and to calculate wood that goes into bodies and then see what happens when you design something and how you reduce it, and then see how much body waste matter goes into the river, I tell you, it's quite gruesome, but very soul-satisfying. And it is a moment that will be in my memory forever. So the next project I want to talk about is the Infosys campus at Nagpur. And it was again a competition that we won, but the visionary Narayan Murthy, he said to us, oh, why low energy? Why can't this be net zero completely? And we said, you know, net zero is usually much smaller projects, and sorry, I missed that, yeah. Much smaller projects and, we haven't really tried it. No, let's go for it. And of course, as you know, they have their own sustainability division. So whatever we did got tested and sort of on all sorts of software. And we headed for a net zero energy, zero water balance, zero waste discharge. This also, to let you know, again, I keep going back, was a very satisfying moment because the team that worked on it on the sustainability was 50% women. So even sustainability, by the way, is gender neutral, just in case. So this is the campus. Okay. So now I move on to our latest finished school, and Martin earlier was talking to me about it, that he's recently started going to one of Morphogenesis projects every day to drop his kids to school. So it's a nice school. I mean, I like it, and I'm sure some of the other people who use it too. But again, I chose it today to show here because it's India's first Griha 5-star rated school. And this is various activities in the school. Yes, and despite that swimming pool, it's 5-star rated and green. Okay, so I then, while I was assembling the slideshow, I suddenly remembered this really favorite project of mine, which I hadn't talked about for quite some time, because it talks about the extreme sort of projects we do. So extremely large projects and extremely challenging projects. So this is the Amarnath Shrine. And I don't know how many of you remember there was a scandal where they built a shivling out of, they artificially built it a year when it wasn't formed. So that's where our project got nixed. But here is the project. This is that there were many deaths when people went up the treacherous route, and they reached and they had to get down the same day, and they couldn't, and they were old, infirm, people with small kids, people who had decided to do it bare feet. So this was rock cut architecture. And there was a dwar, which was welcoming people to say, okay, now you've reached, And I'm not going to talk about the design, but really there were no resources other than the rock. There was no other resource, and melting ice. Even the equipment, the only way to get there was that the tunnel boring machines, we worked with the Army Engineering Corps, and tunnel boring machines were to be taken up by the Army up here to do this work. And now I want to move on to, I have picked from our current range of work what I consider perhaps, if I don't like using the term, but most iconic of projects. It's a 200-meter doubly curving, kind of very artistic, fluid sort of surface in steel, three surfaces in steel. And of the team working on it, the one most often on site, just to let you know, is also somebody referred as Ashulika Ben from Morphogenesis. So this project is interesting because within the firm, it was technologically quite an effort because, as you know, a lot of the firms are working on BIM, and so are we. But of course, we all learning it. And to build a doubly curving surface, on a concept design, and then to try and execute it in reality with construction drawings was quite a challenge. And again, the head of technology is, again, a lady at Morphogenesis who figured it out, how to build that wall with 1,700 reference points for the contractor. Now, this next project is one of the ones which we, at the office, quite often call it that it's the pin-up girl of Morphogenesis. And why this one is so, this is the Pearl Academy of Fashion. It was a very important moment for me because this was the first Indian project to win an award at WAF. It's a really simple project based around the idea of a Bauli and energy conservation, of course. And this is Pearl Academy Fashion. We visited as an office recently, I think 8 years after it was finished. Still pretty much looks the same, quite surprising though. And that's it for today. Thank you.